everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Carolyn, and in this video I'm going to be ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I used in June from least favorite to most favorite. I have 10 eyeshadow palettes to rank here, and these are all palettes, like none of these are new palettes, so yeah, but these are all the palettes that I used in June. So if you are interested in seeing me rank all the eyeshadow palettes that I used in June, then just keep on watching. Okay, so I'm going to be putting pictures of some of the looks I did over here. I have a picture of at least each eyeshadow. I have a picture of a look with at least each eyeshadow palette, like one picture, at least one picture with every eyeshadow palette. I didn't take pictures of every single look. I'm trying to get better at that. I used to be really good about that and posting all of my pictures, all the looks I did on Instagram, and I think I just kind of like got burnt out on that, so I'm trying to take more pictures. But anyway, I have a picture for each palette of the look I did. But yeah, I'll just get started. So coming in at number 10 is the ColourPop Alice in Wonderland palette, and I'm not going to go into too much detail on my thoughts on the palettes because I just did my eyeshadow palette declutter video and I don't want to be like too repetitive, so I'm just gonna do a quick, if you want to hear all of my thoughts on every palette that I own, definitely check that video out. It's my last video. I'll have it linked in the description box. But yeah, so this is just a color story thing. I've talked, it's just a little bit limiting with the color story. Although the more I use it, the more I enjoy it, because I think this black shade, the shade Nothing's Impossible, makes a big difference with the looks that you can do, because it kind of, it does deepen up every look pretty well. And I don't like it when I don't look. What I did one look previously, and maybe I'll pop up a picture where I didn't use the black, and I didn't like that look. But when I use the black, I do enjoy this palette a lot more. It just like adds some depth and it works with the rest of the shades. So that's my that's my thoughts on this palette. But yeah, it's just not my favorite color story. I do really like the formula of it though. Well, the mattes are just kind of meh, but I like the different textures. Like this pink is kind of a putty like texture. You have to build on it, you know. I had to use like multiple layers with it, but I'm okay with that. And then I really like the pressed glitter shade, the I'm Late shade. It's not a pressed glitter, sorry. It's not a pressed glitter, but it's ColourPop's new formula that they're making instead of pressed glitters. And I really like that new formula of theirs, so I've talked about that shade a lot. And then yeah, the rest of the shimmers I really like in this palette, because I don't know if they're like duochrome, but they're all kind of like shifty or special in some way. So except I guess this is just a matte with sparkles, but I know a lot of people don't like that, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going like on about this palette even though I just said I'm not going to talk too much about each palette. But this makes it either the sparkles makes it a little bit easier to blend, so I don't mind those sparkles. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I'm okay with them anyway. So that's coming in at number 10. Number 9 is the ColourPop Nightmare Before Christmas palette, and this one is a mixture of like color story. Why it's ranked low is because mixture of color story and formula. I just don't find the formula on this is particularly good. I feel like it fades. Oh, this is the palette I'm wearing today. Oh, by the way, I do want to say that I do like all the palettes that I'm ranking. I do enjoy them, and I'm just in order to rank palettes, like some palettes have to go at the bottom, but yeah, I do enjoy this palette still. This is what I'm wearing today. So I'm wearing this shade, Dear Friend in the crease, Halloween Town in the outer corner, and then a mixture of Frog's Breath and Dr. Frankenstein. These two shades, although this one, it's looking blue on camera, but it's purple in person. Interesting. Okay, so I'm wearing a mixture of these two on my eyelids. Like I have Dr. Frankenstein, or Dear Friend or no, Frog's Breath, sorry. Frog's Breath layered over Dr. Frankenstein. And that's what I'm wearing today. And then I have Zero in the inner corner. But the reason this is ranked pretty low is because the formula, I just don't find it super long lasting. And these darker shades are just kind of hard to work with. And these like neon shades are really powdery. And yeah, these just, it doesn't last all day on my eyes. But it is a fun palette. I know it's like a kind of a weird color story, but I do think these kind of darker shades up here mix well with these shades here, and then like the neon shades mix with these shimmers. So I personally don't mix these kind of deeper, well, these two shades basically with these kind of like brighter neon shades. I just don't really personally know how to make that work. But I think it's a fun palette overall, and I do enjoy using it. So it's ranked number 9, but I still enjoy it. I've enjoyed the looks I've gotten with it, and it's a fun little palette. So yeah, that's number 9. Number 8 is the Sigma Alice in Wonderland palette. And this is because I just struggle. This shade in Curiouser, this dark brown shade, it gives me trouble every time I use it. So that's the main reason. The matte formula in here isn't my favorite matte formula. Sorry, I'm putting the pictures over there. I need to remember that. So the matte formula isn't my favorite. I'm very particular about my matte formulas. I need the right level of blendability and pigmentation, and the matte formula in here is just not my favorite. Although it is a really fun palette and I do enjoy it. I'm trying to rank them, but I really like this shade Tea Party. And I did a look with these shades here, and that was really fun, and I enjoyed that look. So I enjoy the looks that I get with this palette. I just don't really like using this shade here. But so yeah, that was number 8. Yeah. Okay. Number 7 is the Alva palette. Alva from Odin's Eye. This is one I'm actually giving to my friend. The reason it's where it is it's just sort of one noted, and I did a look using this yellow shade mixed with, I think it was Morning Glory in the crease, and I feel like the yellow on its own still isn't very good, but with another warmer toned shade, there's mostly cool tones in this palette, and that's another thing. I just feel like it's weird because there's this warm tone and then cool tones. So that kind of throws me off a little bit, and it just feels like very one trick pony palette. I feel like I just get the same looks over and over every time I use this palette. And I'll pop up a picture of like what the look I did this time and then other looks I've done, and they all look the same. And I swear I'm not using the same shades, but the one I did that I posted a picture of previously where I used this shade is the only one that's like looked slightly different. So anyway, but the formula on most of the mattes is fine, except again this one. And yeah, I'm giving it to my friend because I feel like it's still a good palette. Like, I really enjoy all the textures in this palette, so I think she would too, because I have palettes with other textures too. I like different textures and the shimmer formulas in palettes, so I figure maybe she will too. I don't know, but I like all the textures and everything. The looks I get are pretty. They're just kind of all the same, which I don't personally prefer with how I do my makeup and everything, but I feel like she probably wouldn't care. So yeah, that is number 7. Number 6 is the Natasha Denona Love palette, and I don't really have like anything particularly negative to say about this. This is another one that I'm going to be giving to my friend, which I talked about in my previous videos about my declutter and stuff. So I'm decluttering palettes and I'm giving my friend a few palettes, and this is one I'm going to be giving her. I used it in conjunction with another palette coming up. And yeah, I don't really have anything negative to say about this palette. Like, it's a good palette. My shades in Lifetime, Commitment, and Passion are ones I had to make myself, like franken myself, because I dropped this palette and those shades shattered everywhere, so I had to like make new ones. So they're my own creations. I tried to make it as similar to the original palette as possible, but that's kind of my only issue with this palette. Other than that, I do really like this palette. And obviously, that's not the palette's fault. Okay, so that was number 6. This is number 5. This is the BH Lost in Los Angeles palette. And last time I checked, it was still on their website. And I feel like if you want a good pastel palette, you should get this. I mean, if you like the color story. And I do feel like I wish there was different shimmers in this palette or something, because I just see this as primarily a companion palette, because I just don't really know how to mix the shimmers with the mattes. I guess I feel like the only shimmers that really work with this palette are the shade here in Malibu and the Hills, Sunset Boulevard. Like, basically the lighter shimmers. I don't really like how the shimmers are kind of darker than the mattes for a lot of these. So that's my issue with the palette. But the formula is really good in all the shades. So I did a look with this. I don't even remember which shades I used. Dang it. Oh well, I'll pop up a picture. I think I know I filmed a video with the look that I was wearing. Maybe it, oh well, I don't remember what look I was wearing, what shades I used. But yeah, so the formula is good. Color story, not my all-time favorite, but it's still a fun little palette. And if you don't really have any pastels and you want some pastels for inexpensive, I feel like this is a good palette because they're all really good quality, like I said. Okay, number 4 is the BH Mimosa palette. And this one you can't really get anymore, but you might be able to find it at TJ Maxx or TK Maxx or Marshalls or those types of stores, or Mercari or Poshmark or someplace like that. But I really enjoyed this one. This is another palette where I basically get the same look over and over, but I still love this palette because I love the looks that I get. I love a corally eyeshadow, so it's still one of my favorite palettes. Formula, fantastic on every shade. So yeah, nothing really negative. Well, I guess the negative would be like there's not a lot of variety, and then there's no depth variety in the mattes, which is kind of annoying, or very little variation in depth. So that's a little bit annoying, but other than that, I really enjoyed this palette. Okay, number 3 is the Melt Gemini palette. And this was the one I paired with the Love palette, and I like the mattes in this palette more than Natasha Denona mattes. And the color story, I like these like blushy, mauve tones and the greens, and I actually haven't really mixed, have I? I don't know if I've mixed the greens with these yet, but I need to. I just enjoy the formula on this palette, of Melt palettes in general, and I do enjoy the color story of this palette, so I just ranked number 3. Number 2 is one of the Perfect World palettes, the Flora Story palette with Odin's Eye. Sorry, the Odin's Eye and Makeup Just for Fun Flora Story palette, part of the Perfect World collaboration. That makes sense. Okay. Anyway, I really enjoyed this palette overall. I just don't like, and I wore this in my last video on the intro for my eyeshadow palette declutter video. And a few of you commented on my eye look and asked like what I used and stuff. So I used Azalea in the crease. Like I did a halo eye. I used Azalea in the crease, Orchid in the outer corner, like both outer corners for the halo eye. And then I kind of used a mixture of Lush and Misty for the like inner part of the halo eye. And then Dawn in the inner corner. So, but you know what it is with this palette? Without fail, every time I use this palette, I get compliments, like either from people on YouTube or if I go out to like the dentist's office or anywhere I go, I get compliments from strangers. So for that reason, I really enjoy using this palette. The only issue I have is this Orchid shade. It's like been kind of a continual issue every time I use this palette. I just can't really work with it too well. I've gotten it to work like one time without issues, but maybe I should put Orchid down first and blend it out with Azalea. Most of the time, like with Odin's Eye mattes and in their other palette, like the #1 palette, which I'm going to mention, I don't really have issues with layering their mattes. So I don't know what it is. But other than this Orchid shade here, I do really enjoy this palette. So yeah, that's why it's ranked #2. And #1 is the Odin's Eye Hella palette in collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist. I mean, I can't really say anything negative about this palette. It's still one of my favorite palettes. And I just don't have any issues when I use this palette. Like all the shades perform nicely. I really enjoy the color story. I really enjoy, like, specifically these two shades are my favorite in the palette. I just love this palette. So yeah, that is why it's ranked at #1. And those were all of the eyeshadow palettes that I used in June. But yeah, I did enjoy all 10 of these palettes. I am decluttering 2 of these eyeshadow palettes to a friend, and I already went over those reasons in my previous declutter videos. But it has nothing to do with the palettes necessarily. It's just I'm just trying to downsize a little bit. And I wanted to give my friend some good eyeshadow palettes to start her collection. So yeah, I wanted to give her good eyeshadow palettes, and those 2 just happened to be ones I was willing to part with. So that's why I'm giving those to her. But I still really enjoy all of these eyeshadow palettes. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And if you enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't and you enjoy makeup content. I'm going to actually be expanding some of my content. I'm going to be doing possibly some like plus size fashion hauls and try on videos and more like makeup tutorials, like eyeshadow tutorials and stuff for my friend who, well, my family and friends who aren't obsessed with beauty YouTube like I am and haven't watched all the beauty YouTube videos. I'm going to be kind of doing more like beginner makeup videos for them, and maybe some of you might find that helpful. But anyway, if those types of videos sound interesting to you, then definitely subscribe. And I think that's everything. So I will see you in the next video. Bye!